Hello there. If you haven't seen my other D&D core pillar videos, I do recommend checking those out because of the simple case that this is the third and final one. Today is going to be about exploration. However, combat and roleplay have already been covered. There are videos out there on this channel to help go over that. But today I've got 5 tips about exploration that I want to talk to you about. However, before we do, hi, I go by Soulfire. This is my sanctuary, the channel to really be for just about any wayward DM, games master, whatever, TTRPG players, or just nerds in general. It's just about collaborating, coming up with cool ideas and talking about it so that way then we can pass on our experience to newer players or advanced players, or just making sure that you know what you're talking about when it comes to TTRPGs, because there's a lot, there's a lot. And really, just knowing as much as you can is essential in your Games Master tool belt, because knowing is half the battle. I don't know, it just helps, because trying to write it all down hurts. Now, let's get into it, shall we? Starting off with tip number 1 about exploration. Exploration is about discovery, it's not about distance. When I talk about exploration, I don't just mean, oh, you're going to go from point A to point B through a forest, or you're going from the start of the dungeon to the end of the dungeon. Exploration is all about the journey itself. Now, I get it, we want to have our parties go and get to the destination where you've got all of the cool plot planned out, but the journey is important. Half of your campaign could be done through the journey, and it would actually be very fun. But the important part is to flesh it out so that it is enjoyable, not just for your players, but for you. Now, the easiest way to think about that is anytime your party is exploring and you want to have an encounter that comes up, it should have a reason. What I mean by this is anytime you are exploring, there should be either some hidden lore, a new monster, a new character, or some type of emotion to be expressed in the encounter. What I mean by this, maybe at the end of the encounter, there's a magical item, right? Getting to that magical item should be a thing. Like, if this magical item is hidden away and requires exploring to get to, why? Is this magical item important to a certain character, player, or otherwise? Is there a process to how to get it? Is there going to be a trial of some sort? Or is it literally just getting to the item in the first place a whole ordeal? Maybe it's at the top of the mountain and you have to physically climb up the mountain to get it. What happened to the people who tried to get up there first? Like, you can fill out that entire journey with just incidents and telling story of those who came before you trying to get to magical items and why they failed and you succeed, as an example. Another good example is monsters. Monsters at the end are always very common. They are our owlbear dens, our dragon lairs, all of that stuff. And really, you should spend a little bit of time building up your monster at the end of the encounter by making the exploration into their den, into their lair, that much more impactful. If it's a dragon, are there scorch marks on the walls? If it's an owlbear, have people been ripped apart? If it's a giant spider, spider webs everywhere, all of that stuff. Exploration is vital in really building up and amplifying what is the cool thing at the end of this exploration encounter. Quick way to sum it up, ask yourself, what is the important detail of this exploration encounter? Is there a hidden truth? Is there an emotion? Is there an item or a character or a monster to discover? If you enter every time you try and make an exploration encounter with that mantra, it really helps. Now, moving on to tip number 2, using all of your senses. Yes, we talk often about what we see, what we hear. Easy enough. You see the dragon, you hear its roar. However, there are some other important things. Let's go with the dragon analogy to explain. Do your characters feel the heat of the fire from its breath? That is an important thing. Heat alone is a very important additional thing that goes on with a dragon. It hurts, it burns, it causes your characters to not want to be near it because they can feel that whole heat wave just blazing everywhere. Makes the entire encounter just rather unpleasant, shall we say. Maybe your characters smell the burning corpses of the people that the dragon has killed. Horrific, I know. However, it's an important caveat and really makes the encounter stick in your player's mind. And when it comes to smell, you get taste. Because, unfortunately, yeah, you're smelling those corpses, you might taste it a little bit. You might taste the iron in the air. Now, it's all visceral emotions with that sort of description, but just those small things really make your encounters that much more impactful. So always think, what type of sense do you want to convey in that moment? I love to describe personally about hearing cave dripping noises whenever my players go through any type of tunnels. Also, sewers are great because, oh god, the smell. Ugh. Quick trick for this one is whenever you start describing your next description, instead of saying what they hear or what they see, try out what do you feel? As in, what do your players feel in that moment? Do they feel fear? Do they feel strength? Do they feel the wall because they can't see because they're a human and they don't have night vision? Next up for tip number 3, make exploration meaningful. What I mean by this is we've already ended up covering the important part about it's meant to be about discovery, but there needs to be also extra motive and just general reason why your characters are exploring. You can have exploration not just be about magical items or emotions or enemies or stuff like that. Instead, tie it into your actual lore in general. What I mean by this is, does exploring reveal your villain's hidden motives? Can it be connected in some way? Does it tell the tales of their plight, their struggles? Does it reveal a weakness? Does it reveal a strength of theirs, which your characters need to know about? Does it potentially reveal a shortcut? Maybe exploring a certain way discovers that there's a hidden tunnel that's a lot easier to get from point A to point B in the future. Great use in urban setting, because saving time going around your city, very important, especially when the city gets attacked. Or is it tied to your character's backstory? Is there a reason that your characters are there without your characters even knowing it? Maybe a long lost friend is discovered exploring. Maybe that old home is discovered, or a long lost heirloom. There's lots of different ways that you can really help make sure that your exploration encounters are tied to your players' goals and motivations. Leading into tip number 4, which is to let curiosity set the pace. Your players are going to want to occasionally veer off the main path. Players in general love to have fun and just get into it. And if your characters are wanting to just head out into the woods because they heard a weird noise, let them. Let that whole situation play out. They go deeper into the forest, maybe they're following some weird noises, and then it gets into dice rolls, trying to end up rolling athleticism, nature checks to make sure that they can carry up with this sound, following the sound of a bird, only to have the revelation that it's actually a pseudo-dragon. There's lots of small encounters that you can throw in to really reward your players for just expressing that curiosity, because when your players are showing curiosity to your game, that's amazing, and that's a key thing that you need to latch onto, because they are invested and they are wanting to just have fun with the world. It really helps build things up. And to counteract that, when your players don't want to go down a certain path, don't just put the location that they were actually going to go to at the end of the path. It does help to do that, but if you want to really help entice your players to go down a certain path, don't make it too ominous, make it enticing to them. Maybe there's a small flickering light at the end of the pathway. Maybe there's a half-buried statue. Maybe there's a strange symbol that they can see. Something to get them to take those steps down that pathway, because once they start down the path, it's a lot easier to get them to continue down said path, following out noises, symbols, all of that stuff. Really leave breadcrumbs to get your players to continue following down the path you wish them to go to. Give them some coins, make it a reward for them to actually choose to go and face the harder parts. Which leads into finally tip number 5. Exploration isn't just physical, it's mental. Your players' characters aren't just stoic, implacable characters. Sometimes they are, but most of the time there is a reason as to why they're going on adventuring in the first place, and you can really tie all of it together. What I mean by this is, when your characters are going through a dark forest, is an excellent moment to have your characters encounter a fear of theirs. Maybe your character's fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of being alone. All of those emotions can be explored via exploration. In fact, it's often the best place to fill that sort of area. Because instead of just having roleplay going on to explain, oh, my character has this fear, and then they talk about it, it's not just psychiatry. It's confronting the emotion, the reason as to why your character is feeling this way. And a lot of the time, our players are really invested in their characters. They've got grand backstories, grand ideas of who this character is. So throwing in a situation where maybe one party member gets separated out from the party and has to somehow get their way back, whole thing, the rest of the party could be in a combat encounter trying to deal with it, and that one player has a small journey that they have to go on alone. Now, a lot of the time, yes, don't split the party, but it's okay to split the party if one of the split parties isn't in danger. If only one part of the party is in danger, it's dangerous for them, but you don't have to make the combat deadly. You can just make it time-consuming for them, giving that other player time to explore and feel out and have that moment to really help put the spotlight on them and let them shine in the middle of this journey. It doesn't need to be all the time. It shouldn't really be all of the time, but it's a great way to help find that moment, to help create that moment for you as a dungeon master to really flesh out their backstory, help bring that character up into the middle of the moment, and just it creates a pivotal point for the character if done right. And really, as a dungeon master, that's what we are looking for throughout our games. We want those moments for our characters to really step out onto the stage in the spotlight, show off what their character is, have that moment where they get to be the center of the game, and then feel like they have been rewarded for doing so. Because yes, prevailing in combat is an amazing feeling. It's powerful for characters like barbarians, paladins, even wizards. Having that moment in combat where you have beaten the main villain or whatever is such a tantamount feeling. Even in roleplay, bards, rogues, being able to end up swindling boss leaders, being able to converse with kings to help get rewards for the parties, massive moments. But exploration can be just about for everyone, and it can help make any character shine just through a few dice rolls. It's just as important as combat and roleplay, and when thought about, when planned out correctly, when fleshed out appropriately, it can make for absolutely incredible games. And just taking a few extra minutes to really think about it and flesh it all out really will make an impact. I highly recommend you try it out. But anyway, that's my tips for exploration. This is the final D&D core pillar video. I'll probably end up going back onto the subject at some point in the future, but really this is just a few tips to help out the new DMs and experienced DMs, and just sort of talk about exploration in general, because it doesn't get talked about nearly as much. So if you like this thing, please do give this video a like. If you like this content, if you like what I talked about and everything, you want to see more of it, please do hit that subscribe button, as I'd greatly appreciate it. Write down your thoughts, your feelings in the comments section down below. What's a cool, memorable exploration encounter for you in your games, either running it or being a player in the midst of it? Love to end up hearing about that stuff, and I hope you have a good one, my friends. In the meantime, I'll catch you again very soon. Hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.